Thank you, Lee. Thanks so much. And thanks to the Select Group for hosting me another time. So today we are going a bit further from pure technical, I try to summarize in 10 tips to help an IT and business understand each other. So a really quick introduction. So my name is Jean-Georges Perrin. So I like to say my wife calls me Jean-Georges and my mom calls me Jean-Georges, but since I moved to the US, most of the people call me JG, so it's partially fun. It's totally fine. I like to say I started building software when I was 12, and so as you can see there, and I tackled my first big data problem when I was 13. It was not a big success. And whatever I would say, whatever my current title is, architect or director, VP, developer, whatever. I'm an engineer and developer at heart, and I've been an IBM champion for 13 years. So you can probably see that on my shirt a little bit there. So today, I also, yeah, that's a 2 minutes promo, not even. So I recently published a book, Spark in Action, second edition, and it's actually the best rated book on Spark on Amazon. Okay, so if you buy a book about Spark, you should definitely buy this, right? Okay, but it's so far away from our topic today, so I'm not even asking you. Okay. So anyway, so why do we want to better communicate between our business, the business side of a company, and the technology side of the company? Of course, it seems like it's pretty obvious, but we should keep asking questions like why. So the idea is to build better trust, prevent problems, bring clarity, create better relationships, increasing engagement from both teams, improving productivity, and promoting team building. Okay, so all of that makes it key for people to better communicate. And I think that if in a better communicating team, you can start to be hyper-performing in the agile sense of the way, and you can deliver better products and a better quality. So before we dive, I would say, in my tips, there's a bit of a who's who, okay? And if we were in person, I would ask you to raise your hand, but you can use a chat if you want. So who feels like is in the business side, okay? Like this is HR people, marketing, supply chain, merchandising, safety, healthcare, all the people that are providing core business competencies to the organization you're in. And on the other side, you've got the IT, which is too often seen as a support group, but is also bringing more and more value, where you see developers, software engineers, team leaders, and architects. So that's, if you're not in these two groups, you probably will find this talk really super boring. I'm not guaranteed that if you're one of the group, you're not finding it boring anyway. Okay. So my first tip, set a standard vocabulary, okay? Or call it vocabulary or terms or taxonomy, but choose, okay? So I like to share this story of a project I was on about, like, I know, 15, 20, maybe 10 years ago, roughly, yeah. And they talked to me about a phantom, okay? And so what is a phantom? Okay, so you come in a meeting and they say, wow, okay, we need phantoms in our processes to measure a dose of radiation that a human is taking. But the thing is, when the first time you go to a meeting and they talk about phantom, well, you don't know, is it the opera, the car, the drone, or even are we close to Halloween? Okay, so this is where in ETL, ITL, the project management methodology, This is the first rule they set a common vocabulary, okay? And it's not only applying to common verbs like here's a phantom, it's also business domains, name and identify your company's areas the same way and agree upon them, domain services. So all that, try to have a consistent naming for all of the different elements. And I would say it's even more true when you are working in a company which is a result of several mergers. Tip number 2, define roles, not titles. So let's take a simple org chart here. I know it's a little small on your screen, but you know any org chart is pretty small by definition. So here, the goal of the team is to build a small health and safety application. Okay, and you can see here, well, Jim has a role there, Tom, Sophia, Anoop, and Shelley. They all have roles on this team, but the titles they have, as in the org chart, is not the roles they will have on the team. Okay, so look at Shelley. She's an architect. She's been working on similar project before. So in the context of this team, she's an architect and SME, a subject matter expert. Anoop is a software engineer, but he's got in right now, because he's got a strong focus on data, he's going to be a data engineer in this team. And same thing for Sophia. Okay, she wants to learn React, and she doesn't have a lot of experience with React, but that's a perfect opportunity for her to learn. So she's becoming a UX software engineer. Tom is a UX specialist, is going to be an SME on the team for the UX part. And Jim, who is usually a director, is going to be the product owner. Okay, so we are going from this very hierarchical relationships to a very flat. So we are leaving the HR world to be a more functional team. And so basically, actions you can take right away with your team is really discuss the roles with your team. Okay, it's not as obvious as it seems, because a lot of people are attached to their title, and build as soon as possible on your project a list of roles and responsibilities. My third tip, cherish your architects. Okay, well, you know I'm an enterprise architect. And I love this quote from Iktinos, the famous Greek architect that helped build the Parthenon in the Acropolis in Athens prior to the birth of Jesus Christ. They said, what the heck is an enterprise architect? And I tried to answer this question. So for business, too often business sees the enterprise architect as a firefighter. Okay, so we're in this big situation, and we need someone to take ownership of that, and they call EAs, enterprise architect, as firefighters. When we ask the question to developers, they usually see enterprise architect as a bunch of arrogant people, you know, but slightly disconnected from reality sometimes, and living pretty high on the ivory tower. For other architects, enterprise architect is often this kind of superhero, this guy you want to become, but is also have all the time to go to the gym, which, as you can see, is not really the case. And I'm not a superhero. I don't have any cape. So that's also not really completely accurate. For leadership, I like to say that we are often a shield. When things get a little bit sour, it's not my fault. The enterprise architect did it. And when you look at EAs themselves, they're just a bunch of whiners. And you know, if you've seen Les Mis, originally Misérables from Victor Hugo, you can think as EAs as Cosette. It's an orphan, you know, physically abused by a foster family. So that's a lot of the case. And but finally, what we really are, what enterprise architects really are planners, anticipators, and blockbusters. So I made up some words here, but let me explain. We are the glue between the business and the technology departments. Okay, so we really make sure that these two entities connect and manage to be to stay connected. We plan with the business based on multiple roadmaps. So it's not because there's one business imperative that we are going to follow this business imperative. We're looking at the entire spectrum of business initiatives. And the roadmap can come from other divisions or other IT groups. Okay, we've got to look at all that and make sure that we're making the right decision and document the right decision. We anticipate issues. Because issues are slowing us down. And I like to say that we bust roadblocks, hence the term of blockbusters. So because we've got to spot them and make sure that when the team on the roadmap is hitting them, they're not there anymore. My fourth tip is be obsessed by your customers. This is something we can all agree on. Okay, as an engineer, we can have complete sterile discussions about databases. Oh, I like MySQL, I like Postgres, or I love Informix. Okay, but this is not bringing anything really to the table. But especially when you discuss with business. But when you discuss with business and your common view is the customer, then everybody can adhere to that idea. And really, the overall agreement is around the customer experience and what your CX, which is what your customer is looking for, wherever it's online, in a store, or in a kiosk in a mall, or out of an ice cream truck. Okay, it's really the customer experience. And one way to achieve that is to understand your personas. So at Advanced Auto Parts, we had an open source project called Data in the Fast Lane, and we structured the program and the features of the application based on the different personas we've identified. So for example, Sonia here is a data scientist. She's got a different need that Shelley was a data engineer, or that Eric was a DevOps engineer. Okay, so they have different needs, and we tailor our features based on the different personas we're serving. One way to do that is to use an empathy map. And if you feel that, you can easily understand a little bit better in an empathic way what the user is experiencing. Tip number 5, use common KPIs. The KPIs are key performance indicator. So in modern management, a lot of people are, looking at indicators, okay? But the indicators that the business team has may not be the same as the technology team has. So everybody's kind of going to push in one direction or the other to make sure that their goals are fit. But as a team, if you find the common one or adapt the one to be common, well, then it's a big win for you. Okay. And here, between a business team, go talk to an engineer about what an NPS score is. Okay. Good luck with that. But the number of features I delivered, yeah. And the number of features delivered, it's also something which talking to the business. Okay. So here I've identified 3. But there are plenty others. The number of features you deliver, the mean time to repair, MTR, or the mean time between failures, the MTBF. Tip number 6, use Agile. So I didn't say be Agile, I say use Agile and exploit it, abuse Agile, overuse it. It's not my role. I'm not a Scrum Master. I'm just pretty passionate about SAFe and other Agile methodologies, but it's not, I'm not going to give you a lecture on Agile, otherwise we'll still be there like in a week or so. But anyway, so Agile is really good. Of course, a lot of things with good things is that people overuse it, and the you kind of lose a little bit the sense of it. But I just want to highlight one thing with Agile. It's the user story. And the user story is really, as a user, I want to do something so that I get a benefit from it. And you've got acceptance criteria, which is it's working. I love it. I use it daily. Okay. So, example, as a customer, I want to withdraw money from an ATM so that I'm not constrained by opening hours or lines at the teller. Or as an engineer, I want to continuously learn so that I'm relevant in my job. Okay, it's short, it's sweet, and it's intelligible by both the business and the technology. Tip number 7, use central documentation. So I stole a blog piece I wrote from on our internal blog, but I would say that centralized and shared documentation is good. Okay, if you've not heard of Wikipedia, that's probably another session we'll have to do. But it's a wiki style documentation, so it's really a link between documents within the document. Don't make it cryptic, okay? So for example, MediaWiki in the early versions at least was forcing you to use this very complex syntax that you needed to be almost in IT to be able to build pages. Okay, I would say favor collaboration over style. So, and that's why I added the screenshot, is because this is a kind of collaboration you can add, like, oh, I can have inline comments directly so that people can review it, like Google Doc or Word, and you can have also level, I would say, page level or document level comments that you can also start to engage with people. Okay, so it's really about bringing engagement on the documentation itself in a central way. Of course, there's a plethora of tools. I mentioned Wikipedia, Confluence here, Google Doc, and even if you want a WordPress website, okay, could be doing the trick as well. So, speaking of documentation, here is my my tip number 8. See, we're going pretty fast. Okay, so we have time to discuss the tips. It's about documenting things intelligently. So it's really about organizing your documentation, because it builds efficient engineering teams, and efficient engineering teams can also provide better outcome, can also interact in a better way with business. And documentation is often a shared artifact between business and technology. And I'm not talking, when I'm talking documentation, it's really documentation in an agile way. Okay, I'm not talking about the next Air Force One manuals, which is over 100,000 pages and costed $84 million. Okay, thanks to our taxes. But it's really about incremental, efficient documentation. We're not building an aircraft, are we? So I like this schema, which is a bit similar to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, as you climb your documentation pyramid, the audience is shrinking and becoming more specialized. So it starts at the very bottom with the context view, which describes the relationship and the dependencies between the system and their environment. It sounds a little bit complex, but it's really about system thinking, about the people, about having a broader view. Very often when engineers talk to business, the context is overlooked. We easily go one way down, and we forget that setting a context is really important. That's a diagram which is very high level, okay, potato diagrams, but with only a few potatoes, like Ireland in the early 20th century when everybody was starving. Okay, so that kind of level of diagram. The functional viewpoint next is really the system as it runs. Okay, the different elements, their responsibilities, their interfaces, and that's really something that is still to the level of interaction with business, but I would say business has matured a little bit. Okay, no, but it's where you will see your databases, where you will see your servers, where you will see in a functional way. Okay, so not in a physical way, not in, oh, this is server blah blah blah, or this is lambda function blah blah blah. Okay, we're staying at a functional level. The information viewpoint, the next one, is really about data. Okay, and those of you who know me a little bit know that I'm pretty passionate about data. You know, when you spend quite a bit of time writing a book about data, it's coming with passion. Either you have it or you grow it. But and really, this is where is my data? What kind of data am I expecting? And you will see that this is not as easy as it seems, but it's really critical, even at some point with business, so they know what type of data they will be able to gather from your application. Okay, because they want to eventually build reporting out of it that is not on the MVP, the minimum viable product, or the version 1 of the product. Next, you've got concurrency. That's really getting a little bit technical, where application, how they interact together. Then you've got development. Well, obviously, the development documentation is for developers. Then you've got to deploy, and deploy is for the DevOps part of the team, or which is a little bit more ops. And finally, you've got the operational, which is really, how do I maintain this thing when it's going there. Okay, so as I said, we are going from a broader audience to a shrinking audience and a more specialized audience. But the two first levels are really is where you've got to give them more meaning to it and the more time to it, so you keep you keep a good relationship with the business, between technology and business. Tip number 9: more productive meetings. Okay, I know you're all on mute, and I appreciate that, but I bet that half of you at least a sigh. Yeah, predicting meeting. So I'm just not going to make you a lecture on meetings, but give you a little bit of my personal views on meetings. First, you all remember when we could meet in person? Oh, that it was kind of fun, drawing on a whiteboard and things like that, right? Does it seem like it never happened? That was a kind of a dream 20 years ago, whatever. So here is my latest acronym, a 6-letter one, ACLARP. So it stands for Agenda, Key Participant, Limit, Action, Respect, and Protect. Okay, whatever. So first is provide an agenda and a goal for the meeting prior to the meeting. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you keep receiving a lot of invitation to meetings where you don't even know why or what's going to be talked about in this meeting. Okay, so agenda is a minimum, a goal is even better. Make sure that the key participants are going to be in this meeting. I've been in a lot of meetings over my career where we're having a meeting and the guy or the gal who has the knowledge is not there, so people are just speculating and just lose 10 hours, 10 people times an hour. Just if they're not here, if there's a problem, it's okay. It's okay to give back time to people. Okay, time is important. Some companies also limit they also cap the number of participants. That's something that also could be interesting. Limit time. I realize that in my experience, a lot of 30 minutes meetings is often enough. Okay, the attention span of people on a topic, that's why TED Talks are 18 minutes, is 18 minutes. So if you do 30 minutes, you've got a little bit of time for blah, blah, and discussion about the weather, because that's kind of inevitable. And you've got a little bit of room at the back, okay? But 30 minutes, focus on having 20 minutes or so max of content to deliver, and schedule other meetings before, if they are needed. Respect other people's time. Start on time always, and finish on time earlier, or on time always, okay? It's really painful. I guess you're probably all at these days where the 5-minute meeting is going, this 30-minute meeting is running 5 minutes late. I say, oh, 5 minutes, not that big deal. Then you go to the other meeting, and then you're disturbing the other meeting, and etc. So the good thing is really start on time, finish on time. Then track follow-ups, okay? What are my actions coming from my meeting? We need to make sure that we are efficient in tracking those at the personal level or at the team level. And when the last one, even if it's the last one, for me, it's almost probably the most important. It's about protecting in my case, the developers, having no fly zone for meetings. So they know they have time to focus on big chunk of times to focus. Okay, for when I was running a startup, Green Ivory, we decided that all the meetings, all the team meetings, all the interaction we needed to have were on Mondays. Monday was a very tiring day, at least for me, as I was involved in a lot of meetings. But it was also known that the developers could not interact, could not have this free time, but they would have this time to interact with one another, schedule their own meeting and things like that. So basically, we had this one day of meeting that was reserved for meetings. It was scheduled for meetings, and then every day we had a stand-up. Okay, and that's it. And we managed pretty well. Of course, there was occasional meetings here and there, but not honestly, not that much. Gives us. Can you imagine a week with 4 days where you can work on like 32 hours of a block of time where you can actually work and nobody's calling you, nobody's bugging you with meetings? Sounds almost like science fiction, right? Tip number 10, don't be shy, ask questions. And I would even go to the agile, going back to agile, to the agile rule of why, and the 5 whys. So it's more like why, and why. Okay, so one fun example to do that is, why am I giving talks? Okay, I like talking to people. I like it better even when it's interactive, which is not the case today. But I like to have discussions. Why? I like to have new ideas and to see. Not to have new ideas, but to exchange and build new ideas. Why? Well, I like meeting people where also I wouldn't say I've got a bit of an edge, but you're a bit the center of attention when you're giving a talk. And why? Well, honestly, I'm a shy person, so I don't get easily to connect with people. But I'm giving talk, like extroverted in kind of way. But the thing is, that's why I'm giving talks. Okay. So it's really, this is a very personal 5 whys, but it could be any kind of 5 whys you want yourself to go through, and usually you find really very pertinent answers when you go through this exercise. And sometimes you don't have to go to 5, and 3 is just enough. Okay, but keep asking questions. It's really important. So I did not have only 11 tips, 10 tips, but I have 11. And well, this one is a free one. Like the first 10 were not free, right? So use instant messengers. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know how much you are using them in your current life, in your current work life, but I love more and more tools like Slack or even Microsoft Teams. Okay, let's not get too started on that. But the thing is, they provide productivity gains. Okay, like for every tool, tools, you do have to use them in I would say in a smart way. Okay, so like make sure that your ideas are in channels or in teams. Make sure that you're not replacing, you're not having emails and Teams communication at the same time, things like that. Okay, so that you're not overwhelmed by, oh shit, another thing I've got to check, but you're more welcoming something which is a little bit more integrated. Okay, and when you look at products like Slack or Teams, you find your calendar integrated in it. You can take meetings directly in it. You can do video conferencing directly in it. So all that makes it a really nice integrated package for better collaboration. Okay, it's because as facts, okay, email is a communication. It's not a platform for exchanging, for collaboration. Okay, just imagine, and you've probably been in this chain of emails where it started with conversation between 3 people, and at the end of it, there's 35 people in it. Okay, and of course there's discussion all the way, ramification all the way, and I think that's probably where something like maybe Lotus Notes forgot. Okay, so did we make the thing complex, and we lost the track of emails? So that's something which, if you're not using it, consider using it. And I think one other reason is that work is done through Teams, so that's really an important way as well. So anyway, so that's my 11th tip, and you've got, I mentioned Slack and Teams, and but there's Discord, Jabber, Flock, or if you've got kids, I think from the age of 3, they're probably on Discord, right? Okay, time to conclude and then take questions. Okay. So just a few key takeaways. I like to say the enterprise architects are not those tyrants that are living in their ivory towers and throwing boiling or burning oil on the plebs. That idea is probably very much like 2019, and this is past now. And you're probably aware of a lot of the tips that I shared. I'm not pretending that it's a revolution there, but how many are you actually applying? How many actually have you forgotten about? Okay, so it may be a good time to just reset that. And to be honest with you guys, I am driven by calmness. I look for calmness. I know that there's a perfect storm waiting for us, and business and technology, we hit them quite a few times. But if you want your teams to be constantly on high alert, you're going to exhaust them. So as you work as an architect, as a team leader, as a product owner from business, make sure, well, you're making a serene and a quiet environment for them to expand. So, having said that, thank you very much. You can follow me on Twitter, JG Perrin, or you can even read my blog where I'll post a lot of this later, maybe not this week, but next week at jgp.ai. Hey, let's fire the questions if there's any, or if people are not asleep yet.
Absolutely. Thank you, JG. I saw there's a comment in about sharing the slide deck. I will absolutely include the link to the recording, and with JG's permission, I can include some of the slides by PDF. That'll come in the follow-up email later this afternoon. And I believe there were just a couple of comment threads in here, JG, if you want to take a peek at those.
Sure. Okay, so I'm starting with Eugene. Hi, Eugene. We've been in a few meetings together. I'm from Chapel Hill. That's a very important question. So very close to RTP. Tiffany, I really appreciate the call out for common vocabulary. Yep. Yeah. So it's always that we have. There's a lot of project I'm starting with just having a page on a wiki where with just the list of acronyms. Okay, you mentioned LOE and CR, and I've got a shitload of TLAs. That's why I'm trying to have acronyms like the one I shared before that I already forgot, a CLARP. So there are more than 3 letters. But definitely. Matthew, question. On one hand, you try to limit meetings for 4 days a week and to get focused, but you recommend collaboration tools. At what the conversation on the collaboration tool becomes a distraction from work? Is it okay to ignore your collaboration tools for a few hours to get work? Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And to be honest, I sometimes, and don't tell my boss, but I'm having fake meetings with myself. Okay, so it's okay. It's okay to not respond. Okay, to turn off Teams. And I it was funny. It's just a quick anecdote. We all know the legend about the reliability of Microsoft Teams, right? And mine crashed, as it happens sometimes. And I didn't realize that. And I had a great afternoon of work until I realized that, well, oh shit, it was also on my phone, and my phone started beeping and things. But it's okay. It's okay. I mean, so unless you're in a production situation, which you will be, okay, I think it's okay to have protected time and to block time. I'm totally in favor of that. And so another one from Tiffany. I am is the best. However, when pet peeve always say hello and whatever you ask. need comment as well as a conversation. I see every day my colleagues will put hello and nothing. That's not an effective view of time. State your purpose for pings them in case. Yeah, it's totally right. Okay, so first, to be honest, I must be a rude French person, is that I never say hello on instant messenger, because I'm not assuming that the person, or good morning, okay, because I'm not assuming that the person, a bit like what Matthew was saying just before, if you, why I was saying good morning, if you're on a reserved block of time, and then you later. What I often do as well is I prepare the full text before I send it, and so sometimes it's a little bit like an email. I admit that that's a little bit overwhelming, but I also try to not do this kind of hello and disappear. Okay, and I find it especially rude as well when someone asks you a question, whether there's a hello or not, you reply by a clarifying question, and then peanuts. Okay, that's also something like, if there's 5 minutes in between, can you just stay 5 minutes after you ask your question and not ask your question and run to the bathroom? Okay, so this is also the kind of, I think it's probably the new etiquette that we will have to work with these kind of tools. I know they're not new. Okay, I mean, instant messaging and IRC has been like from the beginning of the internet, but I think that I think this is probably part of the new etiquette. But and you're totally right, Tiffany. Mr. Brian, yeah. So you can definitely. Some people also put them as out of office or do not disturb, and I'm not really a good patient of that, a good follower of that, because when I have an idea or when I have a question, I just usually post it. I assume that it's like a bit like email. Okay, like the idea of IM is it can be asynchronous or asynchronous communication, but if you need something completely synchronous, that's called a phone. Okay, it's not only for calling people, for playing games, it's also for calling people, and that's the paramount sorry, I'm losing my words, in synchronous communication. IM is this kind of hybrid thing, whereas email is completely asynchronous. Okay, so I would say choose wisely. But you can do that as well. Anyway, yeah, and yeah, to the slides. So usually, I'm not really sharing my slide, but I can make a few exceptions. So we'll talk about that. And why am I not sharing my slides? Is that I share the recording. It's not like I want you to listen to my voice, but I find it a little bit more meaningful when there's a little bit of context, and especially when the tips are, like 30 seconds each or so. Okay, so any more questions, comments? I'd like to hear your tips. Do you have any other tips, like 12, 13, 14? And if you have one, it would be great to share with your little friends here. If you don't, it's okay too. You can also send it to me, and you can send me an email at jgp@jgp.ai, or tweet me or whatever. Yeah, so Matthew, I think there is a place for email, but one pet peeve, I have already poorly written emails. Be clear about your point, be concise. I actually, I'm not sure I'm going to agree with you, Matthew, in this one. Why not do a Confluence page or a wiki page with, if there's something that you want to track, minutes of something, or it's the problem is having an email as a completely, if you're trying to have an interactive something with an email, then let's not have it in the email, because it's going to be messy anyway. Okay, between the people that are copying blocks, moving them, answering in line, and I think we've passed the answering in line for most emails, but it's still remaining really complex. So to be fairly honest, right now my email is really about getting notifications from Confluence and meeting reminders and things like that. So sometimes I even fail to see important emails. So and I had a boss who was really not reading his emails, so the only way to get his attention was to ping him through Teams. So yeah, and that's a good one, Tiffany, as well. If an email goes back and forth on a topic more than 3 times, have a meeting. Right. The thing is, even on the same thing about a communication on instant messenger, and you fall into the trap. I fall into these traps as well. Okay, where you have this communication on instant messenger and blah blah blah, and you're trying to clarify something. Just pick up the damn phone, okay, and call. So. So yeah, ground rules and expectation from Tiffany of each team member on how they work best within reason. Have a meeting as soon as the team is formed and get to know what works best for each person. It goes a long ways and show your investment interest to the team. Yeah, I like to protect the team. I like the team that the team has a lot of power and is empowered. But I'm also an enterprise architect, so it means that I like enterprise level standard, and it's not to just be a pain like Brian. I know he's on the call, but it's also to facilitate mobility. Okay, if you've got similar ways of working at an enterprise level, it's easy to move developers and business and have the same expectation between the different people in the team. If you've got completely different ways of working, or language you use for developing, or infrastructure, or vocabulary, it's coming back to the same thing, trying to make sure that everybody's working in a kind of similar way. So I know I'm flattering Mr. Lanham. Okay, I don't see any more comments. I definitely have offended everyone now. So that's a problem when you do talks and people are joining. Silly me.
Thank you so much, JG. I know I've got several good takeaways on my end. Looks like we've got some good banter going into chat and conversation. So I appreciate you bringing these tips to us. As I mentioned, I'll have the recording and a brief survey over to y'all later this afternoon. JG, once again, really appreciate your time spent with the select group community. I'll give y'all about 12 minutes back of your afternoon and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.